Hello and welcome back. As you can see, I'm outside once again. It's around 11:30. Wow. The air is so warm. This video is going to be about the ego. The ego, let me just fix this a little bit here. As I speak about the ego, a lot of people may disagree, may have a difficult time to absorb what it is that I'm saying, because you see that ego doesn't want to let go of its control over you. The ego doesn't want to lose its place as the commander of your ship. Some of the things I say in this video might upset you as the ego. The ego is the possessing voice, the possessing entity inside your head. The ego is the voice when you attach yourself and believe what it's saying is you. You may be watching a video on a fight and someone getting hurt maybe, and then you may hear the voice inside your head saying, I would never let that person do that, or oh my God, such and such person is stupid. And whenever you attach yourself and believe that what this voice is saying is you, whenever you believe the words and personalize them, you are identified as who you are as the ego. You are identifying your own being as the voice that's speaking. I would never let that person do that. And then you feel that I as you. You believe those words, you feel, and you could imagine the anger or what you would do to the person, and then you personalize it. Then you'll carry that energy bubble and it becomes a new part of your belief system. Or energized, it becomes an energized part of an existing belief system. It becomes harder and more solidified as part of your personality. That I hate it when people do that. So that every time you see that in your life around you or hear about it, you become triggered, and then you lose yourself in whatever others are doing, and then the story in your mind about how you would handle it. I've come to a realization. Not just a realization. This is something that I've had during one of my meditations that I've seen clearly. And the more you pull yourself out of the ego and the personal nature of it, the more you clearly see this for yourself, is that everything, and I mean everything, all the words that go on inside your mind are the ego. Whether it's good or bad, whether it feels right, feels wrong, makes you happy, makes you sad, all of those voices that are inside your head, those stories, is the ego itself. The only problem is whenever you lose yourself and you believe what the ego is telling you, and then you personalize it to the point where it has the ability to make you act, and then you believe that it is you. When you believe that it is you acting based on the story or the intensity of how you feel about those words in your head, that's when you are possessed by the ego. I did for the majority of my life, and most people do and still do. Most people live their lives, when I say I do and still do, I do and most people do, or whatever. I did, and most people do and still do. When I say this, I mean most people still identify who they are with the voice in the head and its beliefs. And this is the only real evil in the world. When you believe something strong enough and you have the means in which to act on the story your mind is telling you, it could lead you to kill people. It could lead you to kill millions. The same voice that makes you yell at a friend is the same voice that makes someone make the command to shoot, 1 million people or chop somebody's head off. It's all the same entity, regardless what level it's at. And that's where the ego will be very slippery and seductive and make you feel as though, well, that person is worse than me. At least I don't do that. At least I'm not like him. The problem in this is that you're still lost with the ego, and the ego is the evil itself. In the Bible, they talked about good and evil. They talked about God, the devil, okay? When they spoke of the devil, this is what they were talking about, is the voice in your head. And when you attach yourself to the voice in your head, that you believe it is you. This stuff might be a little bit hard to grasp and difficult to... When I first started to separate myself from the ego, in the early stages, I wasn't actually able to. And at a certain... When you first start looking at the words in your head and how they affect you negatively, and how you kind of lose yourself in your beliefs for a while, you pull yourself out a little bit and you're able to kind of see it. But then you don't realize that when you pull yourself out, you're still in another layer, just more subtle. And then you'll pull yourself out again and see that even in there you were in your ego, and then you'll pull yourself back again and back again and back again. And when I first started discovering the ego within me, and when I was lost in it, each time I pulled myself out, I felt a real a peace. It's bright. I'm looking everywhere. I just woke up. I just lost my... every time I would pull myself back, I would feel this overwhelming peace, this overwhelming freedom that I've never felt before. And each time I thought, oh, this is it, I found myself. And then I would notice, by meditating and looking at the structures of my thoughts and how I would take certain thoughts so personally that I would lose myself in it, that again, oh no, I'm still not out of the ego. I'm still not out of the ego. I'm still not out of the ego. And as liberating as it is to pull yourself out of certain layers, all layers are of the ego. And that's the realization that I had, the deepest realization that I had, that even when you pull yourself out of the ego, that is a subtle ego that is trying to, take control again. That is just another level of the ego trying to run your ship. The only time you're not possessed by your ego is when you're simply just being, and you can watch the thoughts in your mind and then notice the body reacting to the thoughts. Notice how the feeling wants to overwhelm you, almost like a certain type of a gravity gripping you and wants you to, and then you can see it slipping away. And in that, you're not trying to pull yourself out of the ego. You are centered, you are your being, watching the ego's attempt for dominance over you. It's trying to possess you, in a sense. And in reality, it's not actually trying to possess you. It's just that we've given it so much power for so long. We've given it so much power for so long that the habit of slipping into it and following the story and acting on anger and acting on these things, the habit is so strong that it just feels, it's become normal. And just like someone who's trying to quit smoking, it's difficult. The urge to smoke is still going to be there every once in a while, until you've passed a certain amount of time and you've really seen the damage that it does. So the ego really is only a habit of you noticing the thoughts in your head and then identifying with them and allowing it to take control of your vessel, of your body, and then acting through you. Now, one thing I need to make really clear for those who want to find peace in their lives and who really want a way out of their pain in their life is to understand that all your pain is caused by the ego. When you identify with it, when you say I, mine, me, and then you believe that statement that follows after with a personal feeling attached. Okay? In those moments are the moments where the ego has you. When you believe any I statement you make, my statement. So what you need to understand is that whether it's a positive or a negative, they're both of the ego. That's why a lot of so-called light workers are some of the biggest egoists on the world. They think they know what's right for everybody. They think they found God, but really all they've done is energize another level of their ego. So, and another thing is whenever you feel, there is a way to live that you can allow the body to finish running certain programs without energizing the ego. It's if you can be aware in the moment as it comes over you that this is my ego, there it is. I can feel the pull of it wanting to take me over. And when you notice that certain pulls are too strong for you, if you allow the pull to take you in an understanding that by trying to stop some of your ego manifestations, you make them stronger. And this is a reality. Sometimes when you try too hard to stop, it builds up a certain resentment. It builds up a certain feeling that eventually will explode and you will lose yourself. So just like you let the air out of a balloon little bit by bit, when you can let the ego be sometimes, when it manifests, for example, as anger or certain emotions that take you before you have the ability to really stop it, if you can watch it happening, you're sort of deflating the air that has fueled the power of your reaction there. And in those moments, you're not actually the ego. Okay? There's a way to allow that ego to act through you without actually being identified by it. When you can let the body do it, and then notice the thoughts are going in your mind saying I this and but a part of you sees it happening, and it's the same thing as if you would be a grandparent who's babysitting a child, and you're noticing the child go through his tantrum, and you're like, okay, at this point I'm just going to let the tantrum go. I know it's not going to help if I try to stop him or hold him. I'm just going to let him scream out his tantrum, kind of burn up the fire. Okay? In that same way, you can allow the ego to be, which is an act of love and compassion for yourself. You can allow the ego to be and burn out. It's only when you identify as this is me, and then you feel that personal feeling of attachment, of personal attachment towards the words, that you're energizing it. It's only when you believe in the me, in the I statement, that it becomes you are the ego. It's only in those moments. In Buddhism, they recommend looking at your ego in the exact way that I recommended. Oh, hang on here. My girlfriend's trying to get a hold of me. She doesn't know I'm filming. So they recommend watching the ego as though you're a grandparent looking at a child. And you'll notice that the ego within you is very much like a child. It wants this, and when it doesn't get it, it gets sad. It doesn't want this, and when it gets it, it becomes angry or sad, and all these emotions. So hopefully that helped. That's the ego. I'll probably make more videos on it in the future, but we'll let this lead to the ending of the video. So wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Peace.